Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. How are you doing today? Let's get some light on the situation in this lovely morning. The rain's stopped now, the sun's coming out. We're all good, we're all good. Okay, so get into the nitty gritty. Get into the nitty gritty with the morning, Julia. Yeah, get into the nitty gritty with wellness this week. So just to check in, because last week it was all motivation. Well, this week we've got the harder points of motivation. The pain that leads us to change, and it's just a little reminder. But not only that, just a reminder of what we need to be aware of, what we need to keep checking in on. Morning, Sophie. I love how I can see it's you with your little hearts. That's brilliant. So who else is coming in? Another two jumping in, I can see. I know some of you might be driving. Morning, Kate. Good to see you. Good. All right, let's get started. So yesterday we were talking all about managing your life and your time better, and making choices that are going to suit you. And if you've got to have those conversations with your boss, or decide that you're changing the amount of work that you're doing, and if you're going to work less, and different things like that, just to so that you can look after your own health, make sure that you can look after your own health. And it is really important because, we know that things are accelerated over the age of 50. So there's more chance that things start to happen, and, some awareness, some health scares that we often get over the age of the 50. And that for women is obviously because we've gone through menopause, as I've said loads of times before, because that estrogen just has a massive effect on the whole of the body. So we've got a lot more things to be aware of. So last week we were doing all motivation, kick-ass stuff. Well, this is motivation. This is the one that we need to look at, because a lot of these conditions creep up and there are no symptoms until they're there. And so we've just got to really be aware that this is why we're changing our diet, and that why we've got to manage the amount of work and stress. More stress, not so much work. It's more if you are stressed at work. So like I say, if you're working long hours and you're loving your work, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're enjoying your work and you're enjoying your play, it all feels like you can control everything on your plate. That's fine. It's often when external factors come in where that push that work over the edge and you can't balance the lot in, that's when the trouble starts to come in. And that's when you've got to make those decisions to tailor it back immediately when you're over the age of 50, because of these following things that start to arise. Just as we can see on the outside, that we don't look like we did when we were 16 anymore. My passport came back today. That was after what? It's been a week. That is phenomenal, amazing. So, just as we can see on our passport that we're not like we don't look externally like we did 10 years ago. Internally, things are changing too. So we won't know that. We can't visibly see that, can we? So, when we have these little health scares, often you can get quite a panic, but there's no reason to excessively panic about things. Just always being aware that we're going to take action. Morning, Donna. That we take action all the while, and that we're on top of those things before they get anywhere. We're always in prevention mode, chilled mode about it all, and we're doing something, rather than those like, oh gosh, I shoulda, woulda, coulda. We don't want to be in those situations, shoulda, woulda, coulda. We want to be ahead of the game. We want to be knowing what we're doing. And so if your work-life balance is out, that's going to have a big effect on the way that you are controlling food and stuff like that, and eating and enjoying life and high stress. So common ailments that we do see is high blood pressure. That's because your arteries are less elastic and the pressure builds up in them. So all these things that I'm going to say, that we can stop those, we can slow that process down massively, and we can do that by relieving extra weight on the body and any extra stress that we've got on the body. They're the two main factors. Now, the things that really do obviously contribute to high blood pressure is alcohol, 1,000,000%, is a diet high in fats, saturated fats, and is stress, massively in stress. And also, you know, if you have some, so just making sure you're doing that regular, consistent movement, those going out for those walks, there are the things that are going to prevent high blood pressure. Okay, and moving on to the next one, high cholesterol. So high cholesterol is built up inside the blood vessels of plaque, and if plaque breaks loose, it can cause a heart attack. So we've got to, again, be aware of these things, that they're not to be ignored. And if you're getting readings of high blood pressure, high cholesterol, it's taking action, and not just relying on medication that you've been given, because you shouldn't, because all that will do is gradually you'll need to increase medication as you go on. So you have to combine it with both. I hear a lot of people saying it's okay because I'm on a pill now, that's okay. It isn't, not at all. We need to take control of it. We need to work at it from this side as well as that pill. So you've got to be aware of that, and as I say, that is manageable with your stress management, with adding more fibre into your diet, better greens, quality of greens, and also by, you know, reducing your portion sizes and getting out there and doing those walks. So there your cardiovascular stuff. Also with that, along that, obviously, then comes diabetes, which again is like poor diet, mainly poor diet. It's poor intake of, again, alcohol, sugar foods, and sometimes obviously there's some hereditary in your family. But again, even if you have got a history of that in your family, we should have been taking up, sitting notice of that. It's not something to go, it's okay because it's hereditary. It doesn't matter. Often when you hear of people having, you know, sudden death, cardiovascular death, it's like, you know, and they have been healthy, and people say, oh, you know, but they died when they're out running. Well, you know, a lot of people we don't know that they could have possibly lived longer because they've been doing that. We automatically want to take the negativity on that and say, well, it's because of the exercise, they shouldn't have been doing that. We don't know what conditions that person was born with, what they had hereditary, what they inherited from their family, the genetics, and how the cardiovascular exercise that they took up might have expanded their life anyway. So, you know, we've got to look at hereditary, things being hereditary, and taking control of those, because we can change it. So diabetes we can change again with lifestyle change. So there's the three: high BP, cholesterol, diabetes. All can be changed with lifestyle change. So, and they're the ones that tend to have the silent warnings. So we need to listen and observe when if we do go to the doctors and they are changing. Then we've got, moving on to another main one, that is again arthritis, and again it can be accelerated postmenopausal. We can get issues with that, and so we need to work out then if it's osteoarthritis, and it's like joint and cartilage breakdown between the bones, or if it's rheumatoid arthritis, which is checking the autoimmune system. There usually is a difference on that, where of the inflammation that is occurring in there. But all of these things get straight to the doctors, because we need to be aware and be checking upon those, and be monitoring things like osteoporosis, arthritis, on those things as well, on a regular basis. So with the arthritis, how can we prevent that? How can we alleviate it? We can alleviate it again with diet and exercise. We can alleviate that and help that a heck of a lot by doing that. And also, if if we haven't got it, we can stave it off with it was not all of them, because the rheumatoid can be an immune system. But again, it's about looking after your immune system earlier on. We need to make sure we're not overdoing it. These excessive workloads as well that you put on ourselves, and a lot of this is called depression. When you are putting excessive workloads on and you're finding that you're not coping very well mentally about that, and you've got to get rid of it, the body is brilliant at getting you out of it. It will create inflammation in the body to make you make that decision to get out of it. That's why we go down with flu, colds, all those type of things when we're starting to work, because the body's trying to push us into saying slow down, change. And if we're not listening, that's like just bonkers, isn't it? We've got to listen to what the body wants. Most of the time, the body does want movement. So yeah, and then on that, so osteoporosis. So we know with that weight-bearing exercise, strength training is massively helpful for that, and your vitamin D levels. Checking in with your vitamin D levels. Next one that becomes more over the age of 50, more common, are cancers. So again, we know that certain things can affect cancers, and that is diet, and that is lifestyle changes, and that is also not doing your checks frequently enough, and also excessive weight. So that can all have contribution towards those things. So see, there's a real pattern here. A lot is to do. Everything is to do what we do, and we just also then moving on to the final one of that. The last one that is higher out the 7 is anxiety and depression, and again that's often menopausal, postmenopausal, and that we know that we need to change our lifestyle, and we get a bit confused of how and which way we want to go. We feel often as well vulnerability springs in a little bit if the finances aren't in order. So we need to make sure that we are looking after those, and go back to your values and see what your values list are, because we need to check that you're in line with those values, because they will reduce the stress in your life. They are your values, and that's what will stress you out if you're not meeting your values. So at the moment, anyway, unfortunately, we know it's not like the passport. Your appointment doesn't come through within a week. Certain ones do. If you have anything flag up of this, certain ones come through quite quick. When I had like kidney stuff going on last year, I had my my original appointment came through 15 months after my first appointment. That came through 2 or 3 weeks ago, and that is ridiculous, because I went back and pushed to get an appointment, to get investigations, and that's what you've got to do. Nobody's going to push for you. You can't ignore that, and unfortunately it is the loudest that gets seen in the doctors and gets seen at the hospital. And I don't mean obviously not shouting, but the one that keeps knocking on the door. Hello, I want to be seen. Hello, I want to be seen. And that stands for your family as well. Hello, I want to be seen. If you go for any of these things, I can highly recommend, because I've been through a lot with my family and with my brother and stuff like that. And, unfortunately, we probably lost like all of my husband's family and loads of stuff. So, I've done this over and over again, and I had some really bad experiences at hospitals with things going wrong. So I would always go and take a voice recorder with you and say that you are going to record what the people say. That might sound dramatic to you, but it's definitely what I always do now. Hello, because number one, you don't always remember what's been said to you, and number two, it is power to your elbow to get moving forward if you think you're not getting the right care. Like, for example, you know, my neighbour who had bowel removed and so many things, she was sent home with notes for, I think it was a male operation, and all the notes for those. When the nurses came in and looked after her, they were looking for this thing that she'd had removed, when it was clear she'd had most of her bowel removed and never. Well, where'd you go from that? You know, you're in the hands of the doctors. So these are all, obviously they're not happening to us now, but it's habits that we start to make early. Voice record your appointments, definitely. If you're feeling that there's a lot of information that you've got to take in, then always do that, 1,000,000%. You can also ask for, this was a tip actually that Kate's sister gave me, who worked on the reception. She's a nurse, and she said to me, always ask for your notes to be emailed over to you. So your results can be emailed over to you, or go in and pick the results up. And actually, when I did that last year, a lot of them came through. You phone in the receptionist and they say, yeah, they've come through, they're all clear. And then twice I went, and the nurse, I had to go for a well woman. She said, you didn't come back for this. And I said, well, the receptionist said to me, it's all clear. She says, your receptionist should never give you the results anyway. So don't rely on receptionists for results. And yeah, when I looked at those notes as well, there were some inconclusive notes because they couldn't do the test because there weren't staff in, and it said on the notes and on the email, the test could not be done. You wouldn't have known that. No doctor would have said that. They'd just said the test to be done, but part 2 of this test couldn't be done. And I wouldn't have known that unless I'd have had the email and I picked the email up. So you've got to really take control of your health, because the admin on the NHS system is a fantastic system, and I'm not knocking them by any means whatsoever, because they've got so much on the plate. It's down to us. It's down to us to do those checks. And so that's the end of it today. 8:02. It's a more serious and sober one, but I'll tell you what, you live and learn every day when you do these, when you're doing these things. And unless you've got evidence, again, it's all about tracking. It's still tracking when you get, you know, as you go on through life. And if you're not tracking, you won't have the knowledge. Okay, have a great day, and let's get on it. So whatever changes we've got to do, it's about listening to those warnings. And they are warnings, 1,000,000%, you know. All right, have a great day.